Welcome back to Introduction to iOS Application Development at SSFS. So we've completed 2 projects and now we're going to start our third. And in this one, we're going to build a simple clock. So we've moved to level 2 in the Swift Education curriculum. And the clock is the first level 2 project we're going to start. So you can either download the project from here or download it from the course website, but I've gone ahead and opened it up in Xcode. So here's my clock app. Let's go ahead and expand this. And you can see I have my main storyboard and I have some other Swift files that will be used in this. So the first thing we're going to do for our clock is we're going to put a text label that's going to display the time. So I'm going to go to the object library, which is Option Command L, and I'm going to type label. And I'm going to go ahead and drag a label onto the screen. I'll try to center it about there. And I'm going to set the initial text of that label to 00:00. I'm going to go ahead and use the Attributes Inspector to format my label. Let's go ahead and change the color here. Let's make it a nice blue color like that. And then let's change the font. I'm going to go to the font, make it custom. That's a fine font. Let's make the style ultra light. And let's make it about 56. Let's start with that. That should work. Okay, so just to summarize, I've made it Helvetica New, ultralight, size 56. Now I'll go ahead and center my label again. Remember, however, since this is an adaptive user interface, we have to set some layout constraints. So let's go ahead and do that really quickly. I'm going to hold the Control key down and drag up. And I'm going to choose vertical spacing to top layout guide. And then I'm also going to use the align command here down at the bottom. I'm going to choose horizontally in container and use the current canvas value and then add that constraint. And you can see I have the orange outline, which means that my frames are not quite right. So I'm going to hit Option Command equals, and to automatically update those frames, I can also be found in the editor, resolve auto layout issues, update frames, which I've already done. So now that I've created that label, I need some way to control it from my code. So let's go ahead and click on the Assistant Editor so I can see the code. My view controller is all this on the screen right here. Within that is my view, and in the view is a label. In order for my code to be able to update this, it needs to have a way to talk to that label. And the way it does that is use something called an outlet. And an outlet is a connection between what's on my view and the code itself. So in order to create that outlet, I hold the Control key down and I drag from the label to my code. And you can see the connection is an outlet. The name, I'm going to call it time label. It is of type UI label, and the storage is weak. The storage refers to how it's stored in memory, and for the most part, we don't have to worry about that. Swift is going to take care of all that for us. Okay, once I hit connect, I now have this line of code right here. You can see it says IB outlet, and that there's this dot here in the connection well. And when I put the mouse over it, it shows that this label's highlighted to show they're connected. If I also click on the Connections Inspector over here on the right side of the screen, it shows that the time label is connected to this view here. One last way to do it, if I right-click on the time label in the document outline, it shows that there's an outlet in my view controller here. So those are all different ways to see that this label is connected to this view controller here. Okay. When an application runs, there are certain lifecycle events that happens. For example, when your app starts, certain events get called. One of these lifecycle events is view did load. That means the application is loaded and the view is on the screen to the user. And whenever that view loads, any code in here gets run. Other lifecycle events can happen when the application goes to the background, or when the application comes to the foreground, or when it's terminated, and you can write code specifically to respond to those lifecycle events. So we're actually, in this case, we're just going to put in a simple message so that we can see that code runs when the view loads up. So I'm going to go ahead and put print the view did load. And as you know, that's going to get printed to the console when the view loads. So let's go ahead and run this here. I hit Command R to run it. It's going to build the clock file. So you can see my application is loaded. There's my label. When I go back to Xcode, let me take this out of full screen for a second. You can see that there's the message, the view did load, and that shows up as soon as the view loads. Because let me go ahead and stop this from running. Because I've created this outlet connecting what I see in the view to the code, I can actually write code that will change this label. And in fact, I can say time label dot text equals current time. And obviously that's not going to put the current time, it's going to put this string current time. This is a string literal. Let's go ahead and run this. Runs clock again. And notice this time it's actually put the current time in the same font, color, and size that I specified for the label itself. So I can see I can programmatically change what the text of that label is. But what we really wanted to do, instead of printing out the words current time, is to put the actual current time in that label. And we'll do that in the next video.